me with the divine power around me. I boldly claim my birthright. Today is the best day ever. All right. So it's kind of cool. I'm getting some feedback from some folks that are actually reading that every day at the beginning of their day. And rumor has it, it's actually changing their life. Imagine that. So this morning, last week we talked about what is religion. And this morning we're talking about what is spirituality. Because very often we either confuse the two or equate the two. And they are very different. Spirituality, I love this reading. It actually wasn't, the reading that I had planned is on the next page, but when I opened up the book, this one just went. And it's so perfect. We have learned that spirit is the absolute being. We can just stop there. Spirituality is the practice of absolute being. It is the knowing of absolute being. It is an experience of absolute being. Our human journey tends to be an interpretation of the physical, which ain't necessarily an accurate representation of absolute being. Because we have choice. Because we are made from spirit, of spirit, we have exactly the same choice as the absolute spirit to create. Now think about that for a minute. That's the power that lies within every single one of us. The same power that created every one of us, that created this planet that we live on, that created the cosmos that our planet spins in. That exact same power and authority lives, moves, and has its being as every one of us. And if we really got that, oh my God, how we would change. We would change individually, we would change collectively, and that would change everything. The challenge is that many of us stop at knowing about spirituality. And there is a great distance between knowing about something and knowing something. If all I did was know about vehicles, I would never drive one. Think about it. Yeah, I know about cars, I know about trucks. But until I actually know a vehicle, until I put myself in one, until I interact with it, until I learn to have a relationship with it, I can't possibly drive it. I just know about them. How much time are we spending learning about who we are? Not who we think we are. Because this ain't me. This is my car. This is my vehicle. It's not who I am. It's who I appear to be. But who I am is absolute spirit. Absolute. Nothing missing. And how much time do we spend trying to make ourselves okay? Trying to find what's missing and add it. And if that happens, just know that you know about, but you don't know. Because if you really knew who you are, you would know there's nothing to add. Because everything is already there. Continuing on in this reading, what did it say? The spirit of the universe cannot change. Being all, there is nothing for it to change into. You can't add to all. What are you going to add? More all? When I first moved to California from North Carolina, we were living in this fourplex. And one of the guys was getting evicted. And the property owner made the mistake of giving them a 60-day notice of eviction. So for the next 60 days, this incarnation of spirit acted like a moron. And every time we would try to have a conversation with, look, dude, come on. He's like, what are you going to do? Throw me out further? See, when something is absolute, there's nothing to add. What are we going to do? Make more of all? We can't. We can't. But what we can do is spend our time and energy learning who we are. That is spirituality. Spirituality is a practice. It's a practice. It's not an event. It's not a journey, because where are you going? Think about it. If we already are all, then we already are everywhere. There's nowhere to go because we're there. But how many of us think about our practice of spirituality as a journey of getting from one point to another? That's not what it's about. Reverend Elizabeth Rowley posted something on Facebook yesterday that really brought this clear for me. And what she said in her post was that the essence of it was that we sometimes get confused and we intellectualize spirituality, when really the activity is to spiritualize our intellect. Think about that for a minute. We intellectualize spirituality, when really the journey is to spiritualize our intellect. Intellect is a function of form. It's a function of being human. We get into the spiritual, and it's really good from the neck up. And in science of mind, we're a heady bunch sometimes. We like our thinking. And the challenge is, sometimes we do a whole lot of thinking about thoughts, but we don't get to the thought. Okay? Thought is the seed. Thought is the place of choice of spirit. When this is talking about manifestation and the soul is in service to the absolute, thought is the absolute. Soul is the law, and whatever thought we put in is exactly what's manifested. We oftentimes, I've been guilty of it myself, and not guilty in a bad way, but guilty as in I've done it, is confuse this concept of soul with a personification of me. That's not what it is. This identity of Rafe is an earth thing. It is a thing that when I was born, my parents said, this is who you are. And then that got reinforced from relatives. And then when I go to school, the parents tell the teachers, this is who Rafe is. And so it gets reinforced by the teachers, and it gets reinforced in church, and it gets reinforced wherever we go. And so it's easy to think this is actually who we are. Spirituality is that practice of getting underneath that to meet God, to meet the divine, to meet spirit, whatever label, whatever name works for you. It is that practice of going inward to meet all of you. Every nook and cranny of you. I think sometimes what makes that so hard is that it's a practice of challenging everything I thought I was. See, because all those people, all those avenues, all that socialization that reinforces for 58 years who I am, I have to challenge all of that. And so the first time I really had a glimpse of that, I felt this incredible human betrayal. Because it was like, I've been lied to my whole life. Everybody's been telling me this is true about me, and none of it is. And so the first thing I had to practice was forgiveness. And it's not even really, for me, it wasn't even really a hard practice of forgiveness once I got that they're just busy being human, and that's what humans do. So we all do it. And so is there really something to forgive? Nah. There's something to navigate. I'm fully human and fully spiritual. So part of this expression of humanity is embracing that whatever this thing is, Ernest Holmes called it the thing itself, because it can't have a gender, because then only part of humanity is made in its likeness. So it has to be all genders, all colors, all nationalities, all physical shapes and sizes. So everybody is made in its likeness. And so my personal preference is to refer to it as an it. Because then it's open. Then it's inclusive. And it takes out the religious piece of anthropomorphizing God. And that's backwards. See, we, in our human expression, we like to make God in our image. Think about that. Think about that. When you think about God, if it has a human image, we're limiting God. Because we have limited God to our image of God, rather than embracing its image of us. My friend, Reverend Jeff Anderson at Oakland, we were sharing one time, and he was sharing about how he was trying to really understand that, the enormity of that. And what he got really clearly was, Jeffrey, if you knew everything, your little head would explode. And it's true. There's no way for us in a finite incarnation to ever fully, in our human mind, in our brain, to fully understand the infinite. But I'll tell you where you can understand right here. In the heart, where no words are required. Where the only thing that is required is an openness to know. Not to understand, not to intellectualize, but to know. To stop knowing about. The intellect is about knowing about. It's about trying to explain. The heart knows who it is. Your heart knows who you are. How do we get there? Because most of us would relate to that as a feeling. The problem is, how did you learn about feelings? When we say something feels bad, a picture of bad just popped into everybody's mind. And I'll bet you if we wrote them all down, everybody has a different picture of what bad looks like. And it probably relates to something that happened in your life that you didn't like, or something that happened in somebody else's life. It is situational. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is an indefinable experience of resonance. Musicians will get this. If you got two guitar strings, when they're perfectly in tune, you have one vibration. Two strings, one vibration. If there is a slight, even the slightest misalignment, you have two vibrations. So when you go to your heart space, if there's any back and forth, there's misalignment. And so I invite you to stay there. Stop trying to fix it. Stop trying to do anything about it. Stay there until you feel one vibration. In our yearly affirmation, to consciously align the divine power within me with the divine power around me. That's what we're talking about. That is the essence of spirituality. Because here's the thing, folks. Every one of you is me. And I am every one of you. Because we go back to spirit is the absolute. It is all. Now, last time I checked, all is pretty inclusive. It's pretty non-negotiable. But how often do we get in that place of, well, yeah, God's all there is, and in the back of our mind we have an accept list. That's where your work is. That's where your work is. Because everything, everybody on that accept list is you. It is you. There's no separation in oneness. Where's the other? Where is it? Now, I used to have a whole lot of them. But if I'm going to stand up here and teach oneness, if I'm going to take oaths to live by these teachings, I can't have any others. I can't. Not and be in integrity. Because in oneness, that's it. There's only one. So when we say in our teaching there's only one of us here, it's, if we get up in our head, if we start intellectualizing that, man, we write books. Books after books after books. Our teaching is not about individual expressions. It is about individualized expressions. There's a big difference. An individual is a totally separate thing. An individualized is a specialized expression of the one. It helps me to go to my own physical body. It started out as one cell, which replicated itself identically. So now there's a clump of identical cells. And at some point that the medical profession still can't explain, all of a sudden that clump of identical cells differentiates. They individualize. Some grow to be a left leg, and some grow to be a right leg, and some grow to be a liver, and some grow to be a heart. It all started out exactly the same. What a beautiful representation of the universe. We are individualized expressions of creation itself. And that moves me. When I really let that in, oh my God. Any denial just goes sailing right out of my being. And I get excited because I feel it. Doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel bad, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels complete. It feels accurate. And it literally ripples through every cell in my physical being. And then I realize the responsibility of that. And on a human level, it scares the crap out of me. Because now I'm responsible. See, we talk in this teaching that we're responsible for everything that happens in our lives. And most of us, at least initially, hear that as blame. Spirituality has no blame, but it's absolute responsibility. And here's the piece that on a human level, which is why I still call it spiritual practice, because I'm practicing, folks, because it's still there. If I'm responsible here, and there's only one, and you are me, and I am you, then I'm responsible for you too. Then I have absolute responsibility for everything that happens everywhere. Doesn't mean I have control. It means I have responsibility. And to me, that responsibility is the essence of spirituality. It means I stand in the truth of that responsibility and I live my life in a manner that ensures your success too. I'm not just on a get mine and here's the manual for how you get yours. Good luck with that. Oneness calls me to a higher demand. And it calls me to be vigilant in my consciousness. Because what I hold in consciousness, I am participating in creating in the whole. And so are you. So I have a personal request. Clean up your consciousness. Because you impact me. You are creating for me too. And if I had a magic wand and could change one thing, it would just be, and we would all have absolute, unrestricted, open hearts. Because creation isn't about here. What do I believe here? What am I holding in my heart? Am I creating from my human intellect, or am I creating from my absolute power? Am I creating from that place? The spirit of the universe cannot change, because being all, there is nothing for it to change into. Am I creating from a place of allness? I believe it was Emma Curtis Hopkins who said, before you pray for something for yourself, pray that everybody else gets it first. How often do we do that? If your prayer was answered exactly the way you're praying it, would it change anybody's life but yours? And if the answer is no, pray bigger. Pray bigger. Because when we pray, that is a conversation in the one, with the one, from the one. And it's absolute. And it will manifest. It has to. Because creation can't be against itself. See, that's why the law works the way it does. It cannot be in conflict with itself. So pay attention. Where are you praying from? Where are you walking from? I want to share this one last thing. Dr. Amit Goswami, who was my professor in quantum physics. If you have a spiritual knowing that you're seeking, a spiritual awareness that you're seeking, meditate on it as you're falling asleep. Hold the question in your mind as you're falling asleep, because that time of sleep is uninterrupted, undivided time with the purity of the divine. There's nothing happening in the physical realm that we have to attend to when we're sleeping. Our bodies are beautifully on autopilot. Beautifully on autopilot. The thing that created us is breathing us, and that is uninterrupted time. Try it. Take your concerns into that sacred place. Only oneness is communicating with oneness. And see what changes in your life. Let's take this into prayer. Knowing with absolute certainty that there is only one. I know with equal certainty that I am it, individualized. That all that it is me. And in that same oneness, all that it is all of life. And knowing that, what is true is that I am all life, and all life is me. And what is true for me is true for all. And how I show up is how I allow all life to show up. And so in this moment, I pull off all restrictions. And I stand in the truth of absolute oneness. No longer fooled by appearance. No longer fooled by the vehicle. No longer limited in my experience of spirituality by my intellect. I claim the fullness, the absoluteness of that which was born in me from the Father, Mother, God of creation. So grateful. Feeling that shift inside, hearing truth spoken, feeling my heart open to where gratitude simply cannot be contained. Holy wow. So grateful for the truth, so grateful for this magnificence that simply loves. Simply loves. And so it is in this oneness, in this gratitude, that I release my word into that law, that intricate part of the one, the activity of the one. It always says yes, and already has. And I invite you to join me as we anchor this together by saying, and so it is. God is good when?